point, okay, if Roosevelt is in office in 1929, 1930, 31, before he wins election in 32, maybe he doesn't win election in 32. He's going to win 4 times the election. That's the only time that's happened. One of the most popular, just thinking about the number of times he wins election, winning it 4 times, right? He could have been out if he would have ran 4 years prior. He might have been 4 years and done. Because is it a product of the time? Was Hoover unlucky to be in the wrong place at the wrong time? I think that's fair to say some of it, and then probably didn't handle everything perfectly anyways, right? Okay, so that ends us with the Hoover introduction here.
For the nation's largest.
Okay, on the website, go to the activity on Hoover. That is Hoover's response to the Great Depression. Option number 1 here, please. So click on that, and you can copy this stuff into your Google Classroom where you've got all your other stuff. And we're going to start with part 1 here. Some of the ideas here that we want to get to is short and long-term causes of the Great Depression. Okay, so what were some of the things at the beginning? What were some of the things over that decade, longer items that led to the Great Depression? Describing the economic, social, and political impact of the Great Depression, and evaluating the effectiveness of Hoover with addressing the Great Depression. So we got a little introduction there. On your online book, page 670 is where you're going to find this information. Okay, so we'll give you the little bit of time here to answer those 4 questions in part number 1. And the one that I want you to focus on the most is question number 2. Okay, so as you look at those 4, question 2 is probably the most significant with getting to our objectives here with what's significant causing the Depression. Okay, so copy those into your Google Classroom. It's page 670 on your online textbook. We'll give you, what do you think, 10 minutes? 15 minutes? We'll see. We'll check with you here as we get to the bottom of the hour at 9:30 and see where you're at. That's about 12 minutes from right now, so we can talk about these. Go for it. If you want an old school textbook, I've got a couple up here. I know some of you like to use that stuff too. Page 670. Put it in your Google Classroom. Just make sure you put the book back when you're done. When you're in 670, those red highlighted areas are where you want to go. This nation's sick economy. Avi, you done? Like that, Taylor? Most of it's on 671, 672. Starts on 670. blank piece of paper I'm handing out is for what you're doing later. We have time. We should have a little bit of time to get started on this. That's when he's over to Brett. Next thing I'm giving you is the Try 3 syllabus. Hold on to this. How many of you have a different teacher next try? Charlie, you're still with me?
I don't know. Am I?
I requested, that was my one request, so. We get one request to move students. So hold on to this even if you have one of the other U.S. history teachers, because you won't get one from them. Just like they're passing them out today also. I'll give this to Brett again, please. Who was gone yesterday? Paul? Jordan? This is the final review sheet. Anybody else need one? What are you doing?
Where is the book? Where should it go?
Use. Yeah, you're in the right place.
Yeah, check 8 or 9.
Unit 9. Page 670, Caleb. First one's easy. Focus on the second one. That one's the most significant of the questions with trying to get to our objectives today with causes of the depression, whether it's short-term or long-term. one's in red. That second one that you're working on, okay, most of you are on that second one. Obviously, it's a little bit of your opinion of all those things that happen. Which ones do you think are the most significant causes of the Great Depression? I'm sure we could sit here and discuss and argue all day which ones are more significant. They're asking you for 3 reasons. There are a lot of reasons. Might be a good test question, huh? Give us some reasons why in that essay type, or those 5-point essay ones that we have. Give us 3 reasons why, or 3 reasons what caused the Great Depression. There's more than 3 reasons, but we'd ask you for something like that, right? Five more minutes? More? You done? Yeah. Ben, 5 more minutes, good? Finish it. Megan? Almost done? Technology, right? Okay, I'll give you like another minute. If you're not done, we'll help you with some of it. We can move on a little bit here. We'll go through these questions and then get to the second part, which is what that blank sheet's gonna be for. Charlie, you done? Pretty close?
Yeah. I just need to look at the last one.
Okay, let's talk about this. If you're not done, we'll help you with some of the questions, okay? So the first one up there is asking for the 5 long-term trends. 5 long-term trends. Who has those for us? 5 long-term trends. Yeah.
Industries weren't making much of a profit. Farming was doing really bad as well. They had big inflation of crops. People weren't leaving that much money to spend anymore. People were living beyond their means by overusing credit, and then the big wage gap between the rich and poor.
Okay, so as you go from the first one into the second one, what do you think, your opinion about the leading causes, if we were to ask you that like in a test question, and this test is gonna be different. After I said that, I'm like, well, we have a different test this last one, right? But anyways, if we were to ask you that on one of our normal test questions, what would you say?
People living off credit couldn't hold it, how deep their debt were.
Okay? Who wants to add to it? Charlie?
Well, yeah, like what you're saying, like they were spending money they didn't have, so then the businesses weren't really making money because they couldn't pay it at the end of the month, and then the government wasn't making money.
Okay, and people got into, as we talked about the installment plan stuff in the last unit, people got into debt and then they quit buying stuff. So they had all this debt that they have, and some people have high, it's one of the worst debts you can have, right? Is high credit card debt, as people are paying back at 19%, 25%, 29%. That's bad debt to have. So try to avoid that in your lifetime. Easier said than done for some people. But then people just quit spending, all right, because they had all this debt, and that increased the problem, right? It made things a little bit more challenging. What else with that second one? Other people's opinions. All right, we've heard from a couple people. Nick?
I said when the workers' incomes went down, they kind of stopped spending money, and so that kind of caused a chain reaction that businesses' money went down too.
Okay, so you saw, and it mentioned in your book there, that the prices of things were starting to go up, and the wages were staying the same or going down. All right, that's a bad deal right there. So as we look at some of the candidates, the ones that are left, we have 5 Republican candidates and 2 Democratic candidates. Which candidate out of all of them do you hear talking about the wages and talking about going after the wealthiest people to contribute more to the middle and lower classes? Which candidate, Mitchell? Bernie Sanders, right. Okay, so you hear him say over and over and over about going after that really top % of people that have all the money that aren't contributing, in his opinion, fair share, right? Okay, so in his opinion, that piece of it. What else, other people's opinions for question number 2? This is an important one. What other things are contributing? Jack?
The farming crisis, I said, because it put millions out of work, like millions of farmers, and there's shortages in food for the country.
Okay, so the foreclosures on the farms, 25% of the people will leave those states we mentioned before in the Great Plains, the Southern Plains, and head west to California. Those of you get grapes are at, is that this year?
Yeah.
AP reads it. Okay, so that's about this time period, about what's happening. And they're going from Oklahoma to California for new opportunities. A lot of people heading, just closing the doors, leaving them, and see ya, we're going west and leaving their farm there. A lot of people foreclosed on their farm, meaning that they weren't able to pay the banks, right? The amount of food that was produced during World War I, there's a huge need for that. That gets to Jack's point of the farming crisis, and they are going like crazy, producing, and especially wheat, and being sold all over the world at high prices. And then the war's over, and then the rain stops, and that's going to be a huge problem also. All right, who else? One or two other comments about what you think is significant leading to the Great Depression? Anyone else? Yes.
Policies with Europe.
Okay, talk more about that.
I guess we were in like that isolation kind of thing. We didn't get any like affairs with them, or have affairs. So I guess we didn't like trade with them.
Okay, so it definitely changes where the farmers were, and other businesses selling and trading with Europe, and isolationism certainly changed that after World War I. All right, question 3. Let's move on here. Explain the events in 1929 that led to the stock market crash. Zoe?
I said that the stock market crashes and then it was Black Tuesday.
Okay, so this is that day, October 29th, 1929, that the stock market crashes. What happens after? What's the amount of money that's lost?
30
$30 billion. And comparing that to what event when it's talking about the money?
World War I debt.
World War I debt, right? Okay, so it's comparing that to the debt that we have in, or the money that we spent at World War I. $30 billion. That's a lot of money today. That's an even significantly more amount of money going back 80, 90 years, right? Question 4, 1933, the Great Depression had touched nearly every corner of American society. 3, immediate political, social, and economic effects of the Great Depression. What did we see happening immediately, right away? In 1929, the beginning of 1930, things that you saw happening to people. Sarah? Number 4? Megan?
I said banks and businesses failed and then unemployment.
Okay, so the banks and businesses are failing. The unemployment rate is high. Where are you seeing men, for those of you that were reading? You see individuals where? Not at home, but where? You see people in the streets for the first time. When we think of homeless people, and you're seeing homeless people or people that don't have jobs just out in the streets in big cities. You didn't see that before. What about children? How was it tough for them, Brett?
They were outside, they couldn't really do anything, I guess.
Okay, Charlie?
Didn't they have to get jobs?
Some of them, all right, getting jobs, and you're talking about not making very much money. So very, very low-paying jobs for some of these individuals. Not low-paying jobs like the $7.50 you make right now per hour. Low-paying jobs like maybe you make 50 cents in a week. Low-paying jobs. Okay, so when we start talking about having a good job or having a bad job. What about for women? How did things change for women? Get that far or no? Anybody? What were the struggles for women? They went from what type of lifestyle? What were most of them doing prior to this? Stuff at home, right? Okay, and now possibly having to go out and get those same types of jobs that children are having for next to no money to contribute at home. So maybe 50 cents. Low, right? Almost no money. 50 cents in a week. That's not very good, is it? Okay, go to the next part here. So you get to part number 2 on Hoover's response. So on the class website, go to that second part. And now it's going to talk about some plans that are in place here. Boulder Dam, what's another name for that? The Hoover Dam. Anybody been? Okay, so I take a soccer team almost every year, probably every other year, 2 out of 3 years, and taking some teams there. It's a great place to go, especially when you go to Las Vegas, and it's really a place for people older than 21. The Hoover Dam is a fantastic place to go and visit. It's a the architecture and to build that in the 1930s is amazing. To build it today is amazing, let alone to build it in the 1930s. One of the responses to trying to come out of the Great Depression, coming up with some of these plans, hydroelectric energy. So Hoover is building the dam. It's called the Boulder Dam. It'll be renamed the Hoover Dam later on. So very cool place to go and visit if you're in that Las Vegas area. It's about half an hour outside of Vegas. The other questions there are dealing with the Federal Home Loan Bank Act, Reconstruction Finance Corporation, the Bonus Army. So what you are going to do with that blank sheet of paper, this is going to be the hardest thing you do in class this semester. We're going to make this into, as you can see on the bottom there, the part 2, creating a little book. All right, you've probably done something like this before, but you may not remember. Take your sheet of paper and fold it in half like this. What do we call this? Hamburger style. So fold it in half that way. We'll get this set up so when we come into class tomorrow we can lead off with this. It might take us 5 minutes to make this little. Fold it in half like this. So what we're going to do is you're going to make a little Hoover book, all right, with some of the 6 items from part number 2 on our class website there. So folding this in half again. So it looks like that. You're taking the hamburger and cut it in half and then folding it one more time. Make the creases so they're really tight. Fold so they're tight. Fold probably the right word. So it looks like this when you get the 3 folds. You can do this, you get a good grade in chemistry. Right, Alex? Alex was saying chemistry was challenging. Is it a tough class?
Yeah.
No, it's no problem for you?
Well,
Yeah, it depends on your teacher.
U.S. history was easy for me and chemistry was really hard for me in 11th grade. Chemistry is easier for you. Okay, so, should look like this. Open it up, you've got 8 little squares. If you did it correctly. Caleb, you got it? Now, this way, Reagan, what do we call this? Hot dog. Okay, so fold it so it's like this. This is where it's going to get a little nuts now. You got to pay close attention. Like I said, you can do this. You can get a good grade in chemistry, Alex. You already have a good grade in here, right? All right, so between, put your fingers right here. And make this crease so it's wet, so a tear is easy between your fingers. And then open it back up. So you should be able to make a hole in the middle on the crease. You make it wet, it tears a little easier, right? Mine's not doing so well. Okay, so you should have a hole like this. Don't try to stick your head through it, it won't fit. Just a hole in the middle. Good, Mitchell. Oh, what do you got going on over there? We'll give everybody another second here to try to get to this point. Now, I don't know how to explain this next step, so if you watch me, all right, and you can see how we do it here. you got this hole, okay? You're going to do that. I did too fast, right? You got a little book, all right, this is gonna be the Hoover little book that we're gonna have.